their face, how they don't have much to hope for. And so one of the problems that they have is constant exhaustion. Now, you might be looking at me and being like, Abby, okay, I am always tired too. I work a lot, and don't worry, I totally understand. I am exhausted all the time too. In fact, I'm really tired right now, but it's okay, we're pushing through. But their kind of exhaustion, I would say, might be a little bit different. Their exhaustion is coming from their high work ethic that they have going on over there. A lot of them work 60-hour work weeks over there. That's a normal work week over there for them. Their job is supposed to be one of the most important things in their life. Once they start a job after they graduate college, they are expected to stay in that job for the rest of their life. Now, they can go over to another job, but because Japan is such a high shame honor culture, that they could be shamed if they leave that job. And so even if they don't really like that job, they are expected to stay in that job for the rest of their life until retirement. And it can be really tiring. Their commute by train can be 2 hours long, and so 2 hours to get to work, and then they stay there for 8-9 hours, sometimes even longer, and then they have to take the 2-hour commute back. Their boss praises them if they go to work and they see that their employee has fallen asleep on the job, because to them, that means that they have dedicated so much of their time to this job, and they are doing such a great job, and they really care about this company that they have fallen asleep, so that must be a good thing over there. And then even after their job is over and they're like, oh, I can go home for the night, sometimes their boss goes, okay, we're all gonna go to the bar, we're all gonna go drinking. They can't say no. They have to go with them. Everybody's expected to go with the boss. They can't just go and not drink. They have to drink with their boss. And they'll keep drinking and drinking until their boss says, okay, we're good, we're done, now you can go home. So it might even be close to midnight before they can start their commute back home. And then they have however many hours of sleep they get, then they wake up, get ready, and they have the 2-hour commute back to their job. So it's really high pressure society to be able to have these kinds of jobs, and so you can just see it in their faces. I've walked many places and even been on the trains where people are just standing there rocking back and forth because they are about to fall asleep. A lot of people are sleeping on the trains because they don't have time to really sleep anywhere else. And so it's really sad seeing they don't have any they don't have any hope. And so their job is basically their whole life. And it's really sad seeing that in their face. And then that also brings about, because their job is like they're at their job 24/7 basically, that brings about so much loneliness. They don't have time to go out with their family or their friends. A lot of times, especially the husband is the breadwinner for the family, and so the wife and the kids, they don't really get to see their father that much because he's off working so much, and the wife doesn't get to go out as much because she has to stay home, and so she doesn't get to go out and meet her friends. So there's a lot of loneliness and isolation that many of the Japanese deal with over there, and that has caused so many problems with depression and anxiety. And I've said this before last time, with their number one problem being suicide over there. And now the statistics for that, majority of the suicide people are children between 10 to 14, high school students, and then men ages 20 to 44. And the 20 to 44 happens to be because of that really strong work ethic that they feel like they don't have any other way out. And a lot of times that also has to do with if something goes wrong in the company or they get fired, they don't want to bring that shame home to their family. And so their only way out that they feel like they can get out is to commit suicide. And sometimes that is considered an honor to their family, that that person of their family did that so that they didn't bring that shame back. So it's an honor for them to do that. And it's very heartbreaking. It's very hard when you hear it happen not too far away from where you are, even at the church. Our church is located right beside the train tracks, so I always panic whenever I hear the train screech to a stop really fast, because a lot of times that means somebody probably jumped out in front of a train. And so hearing that can be really hard, and so which is why it's really desperate that we get the gospel, that we can give them the one joy and the one hope that they might ever experience in their life. And it's the most important thing that they can ever experience in their life. But Japan is also very, very spiritually dark. It can be really hard. There's a lot of Japanese people who have just dedicated their life to Christ, that they face a lot of that spiritual warfare right off the bat, because Satan has such a strong hold in Japan that he's going to do whatever he can to distract them from growing their relationship with God. Like, we have people who, once they're baptized, it's like something happens and their job all of a sudden wants them to start coming in on Sundays, and they can't come to any Bible studies during the week anymore, or something else happens to where they get distracted. And so now they're just a Christian by name, but they're not growing in their faith with Christ or anything else, and you can't see the fruit coming from their life. And it's so hard because Satan is doing whatever he can. And one of the ways that I can explain to you how I can feel it, when you go to Japan as a Christian and having the Holy Spirit in your life, you can feel the weight when you enter, especially if you've been there for a little while. You can feel that weight. And for me, when I first got there, I thought the weight I was feeling was more of just exhaustion from being in a different culture, not understanding the language, and just trying to figure all of this out. And so I thought that was where all the weight was coming. But I had another missionary told me that you're going to feel that weight when you leave Japan, and you're going to feel like a weight has been lifted off of you. And I was like, I don't really know about that. Like, maybe you do, because you've been a missionary longer than I have, and I've still got a ways to go before I maybe reach your level of spirituality or whatever. But then when I came home for my sister's wedding, and I'd only been there for a few months before I came back, I got on the plane. It was maybe 8 p.m., and it was like 2 hours later, and I was tired when I got on the plane. I knew I was going to be tired. It was bedtime for me. And so it was like about 11 o'clock, midnight, and we were a little ways away, and I was like, all of a sudden, I was really happy, and I just had a burst of energy, and I was like, wow, I just feel really great. Don't know what. I can't go to sleep now because I feel really good. And I was like, why do I feel really good all of a sudden? And then I looked at the plane map. You can see where the plane is. It was a good distance away from Japan. And so I was like, oh, this is what those other missionaries were talking about, because Japan just has that spiritual hold, weighs you down, kind of makes you feel, I don't even know how to explain it. It just makes you feel like you're being weighed down, that when you leave, you can just feel that weight being taken off of you, and you just feel the Holy Spirit being like, look, do you see how hard it is over there? This is why. This is what so many Japanese people are facing every day. They don't know that weight being lifted off of them. They don't know this joy and this happiness that you are feeling in this moment. So this is a big reason why that I have such a heart for these people over there. And this is why Hope Alive and the rest of our team have dedicated so much of their time to reaching the lost over there. Let's see if I can get it. The next thing. Well, maybe we can go on. Oh, I went too far. I don't know how I did that. Well, I'm going through your announcements, so I can talk about your announcements real quick. Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. Back on track. All right, so one of the things that I was able to do while I was there was I was able to start a young adult community called Radiate, because when I was there during our college missions program, I saw a huge need for young adults to have a community. They came while we were there because we were people about their age. We had just gone through college like they did, so we were about the same part of life as they were. But when we left, they left too. So I was like, I had this heart, and I was like, I need to start something. Something needs to happen for them to have a community, a place where they could feel like they can make friends and talk about things, and also feel comfortable to learn about God. And so this is why I wanted to start this Radiate group. We meet every Thursday night. Twice a month is Bible study, and it's going great. And the other 2 times a month, we have this thing called Tomodachi Night, which is friendship night, to where we will go out and we'll have dinner together, or maybe we'll have them bring their dinner to the church, or we'll just have a time of fellowship. But we always want to make sure, even if we have nights where it's not necessarily Bible study, this is our time to be able to share the gospel with them, because that's the whole reason of meeting. This might be the only time someone comes to this night, this young adult group. So we want to make sure to present the gospel early and often as we can. So every Tomodachi night, for the first 5 minutes of the night, we will talk about maybe what we talked about in Bible study last week. We'll ask people's opinions. Hey, what do you think about this? Or do you have any questions about this? Take some time to explain the gospel or any other thing, and then we'll go on to just having fellowship. And it's a great way. We've seen so many people they have their interest sparked because they have never heard of Christianity, or the only things that they've ever heard about were from cults, because Japan has a lot of cults over there that take the teachings of Jesus and other teachings of other people and sprinkle it into their cult, and then they get trapped. So they get really scared when it comes to Christianity, but they are very interested in wanting to learn about who Jesus is and who God is. Now, some other things that we also do, we have our Tomodachi party, where we meet maybe once a month or once every 2 months. We out and do something a little bit bigger. Maybe we go bowling or to karaoke. So you can see here we had our Halloween night, to where we just kind of dressed up in fun onesies, and we had candy, and then we kind of watched a fun little movie. And it's great way to just have fellowship with people. And then once a year we have our Radiate retreat, where we'll go out. We'll go out to these cabins that are really close to Mount Fuji, and we'll just take 2 nights just to be able to relax and enjoy each other's company. And I always try to do this on New Year's, because on New Year's, this is the time when Japanese people will go to their shrines or their temples, and they'll pray to their gods and their ancestors to bless them and give them good luck for this upcoming year. And this is such a tradition for them that even if they weren't Buddhist or Shintoist, that's just part of their culture, that they're still going to do that anyway. And so I wanted a way that kind of distracted them from that, and gave them a different option to go to the temple. And so during New Year's, instead of them going to the temples, we'll go to this cabin, and instead of them praying to their God or their ancestor for the upcoming new year, we'll pray to our God to bless them and for them to know him and get to know him and know the love he has for them in this upcoming new year. We'll have devotions, a night of worship, and then we'll just have prayer going into the new year. It's a great time. A lot of people, our last one, we had a mom and her daughter come, and she was just saying how she really needed that, because she just had it, the last few days were really hard for her. And so just giving her this time just to be able to come together with other people who will pray with her, answer her questions about God and how much he loves her, was really great, just to be able to have that time with her. And it's been great. Again, Radiate is meant for people to come and learn who God is for the first time, but we also want people who are Christians to come and find community. Because a lot of people, when they become a Christian, they might be the only Christian that they know. They might be the only Christian in their family, in their friend group, or even at their job. And so we want them to have a good community with good Christian friends who can encourage them and lift them up and help them grow in their walk with Christ. And also we want to empower them and encourage them to go out into their community and tell their family and their friends and their coworkers about the love of Christ, because it means so much more coming from them than it would be from me, who's the foreign missionary who, it seems like from the outside, trying to just convert them to this Western religion. But if they have somebody from their culture who speaks their language, who has personally felt the love of Christ telling them about their experience, they are more likely to listen to that and then come see what they're talking about. So it's been a really great thing. And one of the best things that I would say has come out of this young adult group, in the last 2 years, we've had 2 people who dedicated their life to Christ, and they were baptized. And so that is the whole reason why we're here. We want to see people come to know Christ, and it's been such an amazing thing, and I'm so excited for them. Just for the sake of time, I won't tell you this guy on your right. You're right. Yes, Akiyuki. I won't tell you his story. He has a great story. So if you want to know his story and how he came to know Christ, you can talk to me and ask me about it after the service. I would love to tell you about his story. But just for right now, I'll tell you about my friend Mimi and how she came to know Christ. Mimi is actually, I would consider, one of my best friends in Japan. And just how God arranged this whole thing was amazing. When I first came to Japan, one of my prayers was, God, please send me somebody that can be my friend while I'm here. Because especially me going in single and knowing how lonely it can be in Japan, I was like, God, I really need somebody that can fill that kind of a void of having a friend that I can go to and we can hang out and we can have good discussion talks or anything. I'm going to need that. And so 2 weeks in, I met Mimi at church, our second Sunday while I was there. She had actually just moved back from America the week after I moved to Japan for the first time. And she was in America for 6 years. She had lived in 3 different states, and she was the last state was in New York, and she was working 3 different jobs over there. She had a lot going on. She was just recently separated. She was very depressed, and she even got to the point where she was very suicidal, and she didn't know what to do. But she had heard about all of these churches and everything going on, but she still didn't really know what to do, and she didn't really want to go to these churches over there. But she's like, well, the only thing I can do is move back to Japan because that's home. Now her mom, they were from a different place in Japan, but while she was in America, her mom had moved down to Tokorozawa, which is where we were. And so Mimi ended up moving to where her mom was in Tokorozawa. So we moved to Japan about the same time. And then she still didn't know what to do because she didn't know anybody in Japan except for her mom. And so she was like, okay, last thing I know what to do. I've heard about church. And so she Googled churches in Tokorozawa, and Hope Alive happened to come up on the internet for her on her phone. And so she's like, I'm going to go check out Hope Alive. And that happened to be Easter Sunday. And so when she came, I met her, and we got to know each other, and we clicked really well and hit it off to where we started hanging out like 3 to 5 times a week. A lot, which was great. I needed that. But then she also started coming to church every single Sunday. She was actually the first person to come to our Radiate Young Adult Bible studies, and she was coming every night. And she was asking so many good questions, wanting to know exactly what these things mean. So then it got to the point where I was like, hey, Mimi, do you want to start having a one-on-one Bible study and just meet up separately? And she was like, yeah, that would be really great. So every Saturday, I would go over to her place, and we would do this First Steps Bible study where it talks about giving your life to Christ and what that means, and do you believe this? And she was asking all of these really good questions that I believe the Lord was definitely helping me answer, because I'm a first-time missionary, and I had some of these questions I don't know how to answer, such as, okay, so if I'm a Christian and if I die, what does that mean for me getting buried because my parents aren't Christian? So where am I going to be buried? Or how is this going to happen? And I'm like, I don't know. And so these are all like difficult questions that I think the Lord was able to help me with, but it was very hard, but it was also good that she was asking these questions, because it was also showing that she was taking this seriously, and she was really contemplating if this is something that she really wanted to do. And it was great just watching her grow. And so that was in Easter, and then that September, she asked Christ to be a part of her life, and then that October, she was baptized. And let me tell you, that was exciting for me to watch her, to see her when she first came, and how she was telling me her story, and how hopeless she was, and just seeing that happiness and that joy grow as she was learning more about who God was, and she was searching for him, and just seeing her finally accept it, and her telling me, again, Japan has a different culture. There was one night after Bible study, we were walking together, and she was asking about accepting Christ as her Savior. And she said, I think I want to do it. And I said, what? She was like, yeah, I think I want to do it. But can we do it on Sunday? I said, okay. So I was like, I think, like, if you died right now, I think because you kind of have accepted it, you haven't said the words, but you've accepted it, it would be okay. But yes, we can do the proper thing and go to the church together and pray. And so that was her thing. And so hearing her and her tears and listening to her prayer and knowing how it was real for her. It wasn't just a thing that she wanted to do. This was like, this is real for her. God saved me. And then when she was giving her testimony, one of the things she said that I don't know if she heard it somewhere else or she did her own Bible study, because we hadn't talked about it, but it really touched my heart. She said, he left the 99 to come find me. And so that just touched my heart. I'm not going to cry. It's great. But God gave me a friend in Mimi, but he also gave me somebody that I could share the gospel with to help find her way home. And it was really great. And I'm going to tell anybody, if God sent me to Japan for any reason, it was for her. And if she's the only one that I say, am I able to help become saved, then it's all worth it. It's okay. And so now we're just working on her growing in her relationship with Christ. And remember when I tell you that when someone gets saved and baptized, that Satan's going to come after them? He did that with her right after she was baptized. Her job's like, you're going to start working on Sundays. So I was like, okay, that's really great. And then some other things happened, and now she's like kind of missing out on Bible studies and everything. But when I try to talk to her about it, she says, I'm still a Christian, but I still think this and I still think this. It's like, okay. So just be in prayer for her as Satan is getting things twisted in her head about different things. And I don't want Christianity just to be a name for her. I want her to remember how she felt as she was growing in her relationship with God in the beginning, because you can also see that kind of fading away in her. That depression started to come back a little bit. And so please pray for her right now. She is excited, and she said that she wants to start coming back to church when I come back. So that's one reason why I'm trying to get back to Japan as quickly as I can, because I want to take her back to church with me, and hopefully she'll go. But that's one of my prayers, that you please pray for Mimi, that God will put a hedge of protection around her as Satan is trying to attack her and discourage her. And all right, some of the other things that we do to try to reach people. One of our outreaches is called Let's Speak English. We go out onto the side of the road because, like I said before, many Japanese people love to practice their English from elementary school on. That's what's in school. They have to learn English, but many times they don't get to practice with native English speakers, so they're very interested to come up to us and be like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, we're helping people practice their English." "Oh, okay." And then we just start having a conversation with them. And through this, we start building a little bit of a relationship with them. It's like, "Hey, we have this English event over at this church over there if you would like to come practice your English over here." So a lot of people will start coming to that, and for many of them, that's the first time that they ever step foot inside of a church, and that's our way of kind of enticing them, because if you just invite them to church off the bat, they'll be like, "No, cult." And you can see it in a lot of people's faces when they look at you like, "What do you do?" And I say, "Oh, I work at a church," and it's immediate change in their facial expression, and they don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. They're very polite about it, but you could just see that they get very scared that you're trying to suck them into something. But saying, "Hey, you want to come practice your English?" It's like, it's at a church, but we're not trying to do anything churchy there. Like, we might just be like, "Hey, at the very end, present the gospel. This is who Jesus is. We have church on Sundays. If you would like to come, we'd love for you to be a part of it." So the gospel is presented while we were there, and we invite them to church, but we're not trying to make them feel trapped in it as well. We have our English conversation class, which is an hour before church starts, and then at the end of the class, we say, "Hey, we actually have church service right now if you guys want to stay," because all they do, where it is, they walk out of the class and it's right there, and they see our praise team getting ready, they see all of these people having fellowship with one another. So it's a great way for people to be like, "Oh, since I'm already here, I might as well see what this is all about." So it's a great way for people to come and hear the gospel for the very first time. And Let's Speak English has been such a huge thing. It's actually, I'll say it, Akiyuki. This is how I met Akiyuki 5 years ago and how he started coming to many English events. And it's been great. It's been doing a great job. Another thing we do, we have hope groups, which is basically like Sunday school, but we do it right after our church service. And we all split up into small groups. We try no more than 5 because we are trying to encourage and disciple our believers into being able to disciple others themselves. So we are teaching them like, "Hey, this is how you do this thing. This is how you do this." And encouraging them to, one, build relationship with people within the church, but also, if something were to happen and I weren't there for my group, like now, this person in our group has been trained and encouraged and empowered to be able to lead this group while I'm gone. So we want them to be able to share the gospel, to be able to teach, because again, we want more Japanese disciples, because we don't want it to just be us. We want the Japanese people to be able to share and present the gospel with other people and disciple others. Again, we also have our kids class there. Kids class has been doing amazing. We have about 20 to 25 kids that come every week, and they are so great. They are very energetic, but they are very active, and they'll answer all these questions to the best of their abilities that they can. And an exciting thing we had since January, we've had 2 Japanese kids come to know Christ as their Savior. And let's see, like a couple of weeks before I left, this girl, her name is Leon, she came to church one day with one of those big calendars that you hang on your wall. She came, she went to go find Pastor Heath, and she pointed to her calendar and was like, "Okay, what day am I going to get baptized?" It was really exciting, so she wrote it down in her calendar, and then after the service was over, she came and found me. And again, she doesn't really speak English. I don't really speak Japanese at all, so she's sitting there jumping up and down and saying things that I don't know what you're saying, but it's okay. But she was pointing to her calendar, and through some words that I understand, I figured out what she was saying, so we were jumping up and down together going, "You're going to get baptized, you're going to get baptized." It was such a great thing. Her mom was also there too. Her mom also just became a believer few months before she did, and her mom was also just baptized. So being able to see families come together to know Christ, and so that's such an amazing thing. And so again, I encourage you to pray for them as well, Leon and her mom, Yuka. They are such great people. They're hungry for the word. They want to grow their relationship with God, and they've become such a vital part of our church. But again, they're prime targets for the enemy to start attacking them, so please just keep them in your prayers that he will not hinder them from growing in their relationship with Christ. And then also other things, doesn't have anything to do with the church, but this is another ministry that the Lord has just opened up because of a passion that I have. This past winter, I was able to coach basketball for the JV high school basketball girls. JV high school girls, yeah. And so I was really excited. I played basketball for 15 years, and so I've been really missing it. I was really wanting to do something with basketball, and then all of a sudden this opportunity opened up at this international school, and I was like, yes, that'd be amazing. And as we all know, just because it's a Christian school, it doesn't mean that every single person that goes are Christians, or at least very strong Christians, maybe just a Christian by name. So this was an opportunity for me able to encourage these girls and be able to pour into their lives. And so being able to see them grow from the beginning of the season, not just skill-wise, but also spiritually, has been amazing. Because at the beginning of the season, after practice, when I would ask, anybody want to pray? Everybody would just kind of look at each other awkwardly. No one really wanted to pray. But at the end of the season, we had more and more kids start raising their hands saying, oh, I want to pray, or can we pray for this? And started naming all of these things. They're more comfortable with sharing their faith, with talking about Christ. And so seeing them grow in their relationship with God was basically all that I needed to know, that this was something that God had for me, that he knew a passion that I had, and he was going to use that for his glory to build his kingdom. And so I'm very thankful for that. It's been a great thing. And so that's why I'm trying to get back in October, because I would like to coach again, and they start in November. So if you could pray for that, that'd be amazing to get back in time. Now, many people don't think about this. So what is a ministry that is not often considered a ministry? Well, actually, just hanging out with people outside of the church building. Let me tell you, you have so many opportunities to go out and pour into people's lives. You might have a new visitor come into church, and you might say, hi, it's nice to meet you, it's really great, and you talk to them, and you make them feel welcome, but then they don't hear from you the rest of the week, and that's it, and the only place that they find is just the church building. And so they might not get the discipling that they need just from this 1 or 2 hours at church. They might need you to go invest them outside of the church building and pour into their lives. Let them know that you care about them, that they are not just a number in the church, that they are not just somebody that you're trying to convert. You care about them and you love them as a person, and that's why you want to befriend them and share the love of Christ with them. And I've had so many people that I've had the opportunity to go deeper into the gospel because we met outside the church building. During church, we do kind of get to talk about it, but not a lot. But just going and hanging out with them is when they start to ask questions. And so that's really important. I encourage all of you to go find somebody, be like, hey, do you want to go get some coffee and just go talk? And before you go, pray, God, give me an opportunity to be able to mention the gospel and not make it awkward. Now, I'm not saying that you're not going to feel awkward, because you might feel awkward the first 2 minutes that you start talking about it. But I always pray for a natural opportunity. Like, they might say something to where naturally my answer is going to be something about Christ. So just not just randomly, hey, do you want to talk about Jesus? Randomly, and they're like, oh, okay. And so where they're feeling like, maybe not. So natural conversations. So like this girl over here in your top left, I really need to work on my left and rights. But the top left, her name is Yuki. She actually started coming to our young adult groups. She'll come to church every now and then on Sunday nights. She is not a Christian. But she has started to feel more comfortable during our Bible studies to start asking questions, and she'll volunteer to read some of the scripture. But I've noticed that if we're going to have like a good conversation is when she asks me, hey, do you want to go get dinner? Or hey, do you want to go to Disney? Because the train ride is a little bit long, and so that's some of the time that we're able to talk about different things if she has a question. So she's feeling loved, and she's feeling like she has a friend who doesn't believe the same thing she believes, but still pouring into her life and encouraging her to where she's like, oh, why? Why does she care about me so much, even though we don't believe the same thing? So now she's asking questions, wants to learn more. Another thing, the next picture, those are my two friends, Shine and Yejin. They are both believers, but they just needed a community. They found community at Radiate, and they said, hey, can we go get dinner with you? I said, yeah. And they said, well, we really wanted to ask this during Radiate, but there were some people there that they aren't going through the same things that we're going through, so we kind of were a little bit nervous to ask it. But since you also understand what we're going through, we wanted to take you out to dinner and ask you some questions. I said, okay. And this is also a blessing for me of struggling with being the only person on my team that's single. They're asking me questions about, okay, so what should I look for in a godly person? What does the Bible say about getting married to this kind of person? Or like, are you okay? How have you been single for so long? Like, how are you okay? Are you okay? Like, do you still go through times when it's really hard for you? And so being in the position that I am now, when oftentimes I've also said, God, why are you making me wait? Like, why am I still doing this and not getting something that I want? This is the time when God was saying, this is why, that you are still in this position right now, because you're able to pour into these girls' lives that if you had what you want, it wouldn't be the same. And so I'm able to pour into them and be like, hey, this is the kind of guy that you want. Don't lower your standards, because it's really hard to find a good godly guy in Japan. I was like, I completely understand. I am in the same boat with you. But God can use you so much in your position right now to bring about his glory. And if you lower your standards for something else, that makes it a little bit more difficult. And so being able to encourage them in that way has been so great. And God has also given me comfort and peace in where I'm at now, because he's shown me the reason why he is allowing me to be single right now. And so it's been so great for me. And also I'm hoping that it's good for these other girls as well. And then also this picture below, going out with our Radiate group, that not just a fun time, but we're able to meet people in that way too. We had this guy from France, actually, that we were able to meet while we were bouldering, and we started talking to him, getting to know him. And so then he started asking me, he's like, hey, why are you here? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm a missionary. I work at this church over here. He's like, oh yeah, I've been to Catholic church a couple of times, but I don't go very often. And so we started talking a little bit about that. And then Easter was coming up, and I was thinking a little bit later, I was like, I should text him and invite him to our Easter service. And as soon as I pulled my phone out, he texted me and was like, hey, so Easter's coming up, isn't it? Is it okay if I go to your church? I said, yes, of course, please come, that'd be amazing. And so he came, and he was able to hear the gospel presented, and he stayed and had fellowship with so many people, and it was so great, one, to see all of our church members start to pour into his life and talk to him and get to know him. And then after, when we had all gone home, he texted me, he said, I can understand why you enjoy coming here so much. And it was so great, and actually the words he used, the vibe was just amazing. I was like, okay, if the vibe was good, that's great, I like that. But he said, is it okay if I keep coming? I was like, yes, please come. It'd be so great if you kept going. So just going out and meeting people and being open to share and talk about God, even though, again, it was a little awkward, because it's the first thing of I don't want to scare you away, but you tell you God's going to bless your efforts. Even if they don't give the good reaction that you wanted, you still planted a seed for them to maybe think about later on. It might take somebody else to bring them to church or to hear about God. But just that initial obedience to saying, I'm going to talk to them about God in some kind of way, God's going to bless that in some way. And it's going to feel good, because knowing that you did the right thing, it's great. So let's see. So what does the future look like? What am I going to do when I get back? Well, again, I'm going to continue all of these ministries that I've been doing, and I'm very excited to continue and keep going. But then, the most exciting part is I'm going to have 2 years of Japanese language school when I go back. Yay! Well, I am really excited, because I really do want to start having conversations with people in their language, because I always feel bad when they are really struggling trying to talk to me in English. And I'm like, you shouldn't be feeling bad that you can't speak English, because this is your country. I should be trying to speak to you in Japanese. And so I'm really excited about learning and being able to connect with more people, because I'm speaking to them in their language. So I'm very excited to learn. And as this says right here on the side, it says, Nihongo ga wakarimasen, which means I don't understand Japanese. So that's about the extent of my Japanese right there. So hopefully I'll be able to grow more in my knowledge and be able to learn more and have the confidence to be able to start practicing, because that's the worst part. Is the best way you're going to learn it is to try and speak it with other people, which I get very nervous about it, because I don't like to mess up in front of people and be wrong. So that's going to take some encouraging. So please be in prayer for that as I go back. Let's see. All right, so what are some things that you can do? How can you help in taking the gospel over to Japan? Well, first things first, definitely prayer. Prayer was always needed. I'm never going to say that, oh, there's too much prayer, I'm tired of prayer. No, anybody can pray, always pray. It's so good. Some of the things that you can pray for, the Japanese people, one, that they will keep their hearts and their minds open to hearing the gospel, that there will be all these opportunities for them to hear the gospel as well, and also for the Japanese people who have just dedicated their life to Christ, or even some Christians who have been there for a while that might be struggling in their faith now. So please just keep them in their prayer, that God will place a hedge of protection around them, and they will always feel that peace and comfort from Him, knowing that there's a reason why they dedicated their life to Christ, that even though things might be getting hard, that God is still with them in these times of troubles. And so it's very dire that you pray for them, because Satan is working his hardest over there. Also pray for the Hope Alive team. We have a few of our team members who are back who are also trying to raise funds as well. We're actually our team leaders who speak the best Japanese because they've been there for 12 years. And so please pray for the team members who are over there. We have 2 families that are in language school right now, and so they're working on it, but we don't have fluent people there right now. And so a lot of times if they have questions, they'll have to call Heath and Joni or the team leaders, be like, hey, can you translate this for me? And so it can be really hard for them. So please keep them in your prayers. And again, keep me in your prayers for fundraisings, that I can finish fundraising by October, and also as I'm learning the language. If you would like to know how you can keep praying, if prayer requests keep popping up, or if you want to know all of these things that are happening while I'm here in America, or things that are going on in Japan, there are a couple of ways that you can keep updated. One, you can follow my Facebook page if you have Facebook. My group is Abby Walker in Japan, and I'll be posting there hopefully often, so you know where I'm at percentage-wise in my funding, and then getting to Japan, and even some things that might be happening in Japan, even though I'm not there, if you want to stay updated of things that are going on. And also, I send out newsletters about once a month, so that might be a little bit more detailed. If you would like to receive a newsletter, you can scan this QR code, or you can just give me your email address. There's a sign-up sheet at the end of that table over there that all you have to do is give me your email, and you can check if you want a newsletter and or be a part of the Facebook group, and I will go ahead and add you to that. So those are a couple ways that you could stay updated on how you can pray for this ministry. And then, you know, the best thing ever is the only way I'm ever going to be able to get over to Japan is that I need people who are willing to partner with me financially. And one-time gifts are great. They're amazing. I encourage them. I will love you for them, and they are going to get me over to Japan. But what they're not going to do is they're not going to help me stay in Japan, because those one-time gifts will eventually run out. And so monthly gifts are going to help me get to Japan quicker, and they're going to help me stay there longer. And so I don't want you to think that, oh, I'm just going to give to you. That's it, that's the last of it, and I'm just going to be some person giving you money. No, you are part of this ministry. By you partnering with me financially and through prayer, you are part of the reason why people in Japan are hearing the gospel for the very first time. You're a part of the reason why Mimi came to know Christ. You're part of the reason why Leon and her mom have come to know Christ. It's because people like you who are willing, who are not called to go yourselves internationally, but you are obeying Christ and helping to get the gospel by partnering with a missionary financially. Even if it's not me, you're helping to take the gospel by partnering with any missionary, to take the gospel to those who have never heard. So I encourage you to be a part of that. Again, even if it's not me, partner with some kind of a missionary, because without you, the missionary wouldn't be able to go over there to tell the gospel. So if you would like to partner with me, I want to give you some options, and I would love to do that for you. So first thing you can do, you can either scan this QR code right there, and it will take you to this page. I think also in your prayer card, this should also, if you scan that, then it also should take you to a page to where it'll take you here as well. But you can sign up, you can set up one time or monthly, and then you could put, I think my name should be up there, but if it's not, just put my name. At least I would appreciate it if you put my name. If you want to start giving to another missionary, that's okay too. But again, if you want to do it that way, that's one easy way. Some people, if you don't like doing anything online, I have another way for you. There is a bank draft that you are able to do, and I have them out on the table. you'll see all of these big envelopes with different monthly. They have 25, 50, 75, 100, and we have an other if you don't want to give any of those. If you want to give less, if you want to give more, you can fill out whatever you want to give. So you take one of those and you'll see this paper in there, and you fill out the information and put a voided check, and then you put it into this envelope, which already has the mailing address on it, already has the stamp. So all you have to do is either give it back to me today, or you can take it home, pray about it, and you can put it in the mail. Everything else is done, you just have to put it in the mail, and then that'll be a way that you can sign up monthly if you would like to. If you have any questions about how you can do that and you're a little bit confused, I can help you after this is over. But again, thank you so much for allowing me to be here this morning and to share my heart with you guys. I might have gone a little long. I apologize. I have so much to share with you guys. I have a lot left to say, but I can't. But it's okay. But again, if you want to talk after, I would love to. And thank you so much for allowing me to be here this morning.